What's up, guys? It's your girl Foxy here, and thanks for tuning in. So, sister girl, hold on. I know you're coming at me. You're looking at me sideways, like where you been? Where have you been? I'm back, and yes, it's been a while. Look, I have been missing you guys. Okay, I've been missing being in front of the camera, talking to you, reading your comments. But your comments have kept me looking forward to this day right here. Okay, it's been encouraging me and kind of pushing me, like, girl, you better get back into it. It's 2022 and it's almost mid-January to think about it. It's crazy. But let me tell you something. I know I've done this. Look, it seems to be a pattern in my life where towards the end of the year, I just slow down when it comes to YouTube content. I just slow down, and sometimes I go MIA for a little while. But it's crazy because I was looking back, and I swear in 2020 I did a video like this, and I think I called it "I'm back" or something like that. But yes, I'm back, girls, and I'm not gonna leave. And this time I actually have a good explanation for it. I mean, all the other times, look, I do have good explanations for it, but this time in particular, it's been a lot. Okay, it's been a lot, and I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna give you the lowdown. Look, new year, and I don't know how to put it, but so much has changed in my life. I thought it was only fair to, like, let you guys in on it. So grab your tea, coffee, tequila, whatever it is that suits you. Sit down because you're in for a story, okay? All right. So I want to say the past 4 months of my life have been, yes, since August. The past 4 months of my life have been super hectic, but also have been one of the most blessed times of my life, or the most, how do I explain it? The most growth. Yes, I've been beaten up a few times. Life has had its moments with me, guys, and I'm gonna get into it. But just like a diamond, when the pressure's on, that's when you come out thriving, right? That's when you come out, looking the best. That's when you come out the best quality, the highest whatever of yourself, okay? And that's what has been happening. So I will, like, rewind it, okay? We made a decision that we were gonna move back to Australia. Did I say that? Did I say that out loud? Yes. I'm in Australia. We're back. The whole family, the whole thing. We're back. We're back in the hood, okay? We are back, and look, let me tell you this, okay? It's been a stressful ride. Let me tell you, from the moment we were like, should we do this? And at the time, we made the decision because, look, there were a lot of personal factors going on in our lives, but also we wanted to think, what's the best thing or best environment for us to raise our kids in? Something that we can be proud of, something that we can say is where we're gonna shine as a family, and growth and evolve. And we decided coming back was gonna be the best decision. Now, the thing is, okay, it wasn't as easy as we thought it was gonna be, okay? We decided, first of all, you know what, the same thing I said last time too, it's crazy. I will actually insert the video here. I was like, do we sell our stuff or do we ship them over? Now, if you guys didn't know, when we moved to New Zealand, from Australia to New Zealand, during COVID, during, like, the beginning of it all, we shipped our furniture over. So the furniture you guys saw, or most of it anyway, came from Australia with us. Now, we were thrown into the same situation again, and we ultimately thought, you know what, we've been up and down so many times that we practically don't have attachment to the stuff that we have. As pretty as they were, and you invest a lot of money into making your home feel like a home, and getting the things you want, but also it's not so much like being attached to materialistic things, but you tend to familiarize yourself with them, and it's your comfort zone. It's a place you share and create memories with your family. And yes, furniture plays a role in it, but we weren't that attached, and we decided it's going to be too much of an expense to bring it over during, the pandemic. And you never know, like, the worst case scenario, you send your stuff over, it already takes a long time anyway. It's about a delay of 2 weeks, unless time is on your side and they arrive the same day you arrive or when you're ready for it. But the reality is, with the virus and borders being closed and then open and then closed, it was a major possibility that our stuff would have been, in backlog or being held back, and we wouldn't have access to it for 6 months. So we decided to sell. Everything like we did the first time we were moving here, and then, we did all that. But let me tell you something. I wasn't attached to a lot of things. Like, I'll insert photos here, but there were those armchairs. One in particular, out of the 2 armchairs, this is the one. I don't know why I had this. I almost cried, y'all. Like, the people that came and bought the stuff from us, actually, initially the lady, the young girl, came and bought the 2 couches, the white couches that were in the formal lounge. And then on her way there, I think she had looked at my other listings on TradeMe, and she was like, oh, actually, my mom might want your dining suite as well. So when they arrived, they were like, girl, the rug is looking cute, this table is looking cute. But they didn't take the rug or the table. They were just like, but these armchairs though. And they took the armchairs. As they were loading that one armchair onto their trailer, I almost cried. I don't know what was up with that armchair. But anyway, yes, we sold our stuff, okay? It was gone and it was dusted, and we thought, you know what, we booked the tickets. We had quarantine-free travel between Australia, like the Trans-Tasman situation was good for us. Then Delta happened, okay? Delta, let me tell you something about you, Delta, right? You messed up. You flipped the script like all the way. You did a full 180 on us. And guys, let me tell you this. I think New Zealand had just gotten into their lockdown with Delta when we were in the middle of, I remember us still cleaning the house. Like, we were furniture-less. And when I mean furniture-less, I mean like all the stuff we were wanting to get rid of, the last-minute stuff that we're going to go to the second-hand shops and everything. Mind you, remember the second-hand shops were closed as well. So we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And we were selling and giving free stuff on Facebook Market. It was a whole situation, but we had no furniture, sleeping on the floor, on our blankets, the blankets that we were going to fold up and then give away to like family, friends or whatever. That's what we had. No furniture. When I mean nothing, okay? And I got receipts, okay? I'm going to put everything, because thank God we documented everything. So let me tell you this. We're there, we're excited, we're getting the kids ready, we're planning, and we're having the talks with them when we're at the airport, do A, B, C, and D. And we are packing, okay? We're packing our bags literally the day before. I think the day before our flight was meant to leave, I called Air New Zealand, because I think it was just something about the pre-departure tests that you had to do. I just wanted to clarify some things. And I called, and the guy that I spoke to that morning said, no, everything is fine. No, that's fine. Your arrangement is okay. Your tests are okay. So then, I don't know what, I think I called just to confirm, because there was something in me. So I called and I was like, wait a minute, let me just clarify. So do y'all need the regular, test that you do at the GP, or is this like a special pre-departure test? And he was like, no, it's a special pre-departure test. But the girl that I was talking to, she goes, but where did you say you're flying out to? And I was like, oh yeah, we're leaving for Australia. And she was like, on what flight? And I'm like, no, tomorrow at 8. And she's like, girl, we don't have any operating services at the moment. I was like, wait, hold on, what are you talking about? She said, nothing is going. Borders are closed. We don't know when they're going to open. Check the travel alerts page. And I was shocked, because, guys, we were meant to leave the next day. The next day was our end date. So at that point, it dawned to us that we were going to be homeless. And I hate to say this, because my husband hates this. He hates it when I say it. But the reality was, the next day onwards, we wouldn't have a roof over our head. And we got 4 kids. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, boo boo? Come up with a plan B. And I was trying to be cool because first of all, I just wanted to finish cleaning that house, okay? And then the next thing was we've sold our car, and that's a whole situation on its own. So that's another story, okay? I'm gonna get back to that later. We have this lady's son or nephew coming to pick this car up tonight. And then on top of that, like it was so many things. And then it's like, where are we gonna go? It's lockdown. Like people are not leasing properties. And if they are, it's like, guys, it was just a mess. And how we're gonna find a place? We've got our luggage and no food because, you know, we gave away all the food, and we can't take takeaways. We can't do takeaways because everything's locked out. It was a hot mess, okay? And there was a little bit of panic, but then thank God for Airbnbs. So we literally were on that. Like my husband was on it because I was busy cleaning and trying to get the kids together. And the only thing we had at this point were the cots. And the cots, thank God we literally kept these cots. I was going to give the cots away. And I had already arranged to give the cots, the twins cots, away to some lady on Facebook Market because she was expecting a kid and her sister's expecting a kid or whatever. So I told her you can pick them up literally the day before we leave. And she was keen for that, right? So thank God we had that. So the twins had somewhere to sleep, but everyone else was sleeping on the floor. And so my husband got an Airbnb, literally the only one we could find like where we could move in like that day, the next day. And so, yep, he booked that. And guys, it was like a 2-bedroom, 1 lounge with like a kitchenette, no dining space or anything. But at this point, we were just grateful that we could have a roof over our head, you know. And the lady I spoke to actually from the airline was telling me about how they just were full on with like people calling them because people would actually arrive at the airport and realize that their flight was canceled because nobody sent out an email. Like Air New Zealand wasn't sending an email out to notify people. I mean, it's chaos, you know. This pandemic has just put people in uncomfortable situations. You know, we're all learning as we're going. We're adapting to new things, and this was one of them. So yeah, there we go. Our little family just found out that we're not flying out the next day, grabbed our stuff and moved into this Airbnb. Now, the saving grace, the blessing from God, and this whole journey, guys, let me tell you this. When God is present in your life, you know, you can plan all you want, but when God has a path for you, you're going to walk that path and you're going to think sometimes God will put you in uncomfortable situations for you to gain the strength you need, for you to gain the values you never thought you had within you. And this was one of them. We were in such, like we've lived a comfortable life where I haven't had to worry about having a roof over our head. I haven't had to worry about like a lot of things. And this one in particular was so uncomfortable because if it was just me and my husband, we would have gotten anything. We would have been okay. We would have even slept in the car. But having the kids, it's another level of worry and stress. Are they going to be okay? Unfamiliar environment. It's layers of things. But the saving grace, when God, if I tell you, he showed up and showed out throughout this whole experience. Everything that could go wrong went wrong with our move, okay? In my human brain, right? In my capacity of thought and feelings and understanding, everything was going wrong. And I was panicking. I can tell you that we were planning, we thought we were going to be in the Airbnb for a week or 2 weeks, and then they would lift the restrictions on the border, and then we'll be in Australia where we had already found a rental for ourselves here. But it was not going to be a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It was going to be longer, and we didn't know. And that uncertainty, not knowing what was happening and when things were going to change, and always looking, I couldn't eat properly, y'all. Let me tell you, when I tell you I couldn't eat properly, I couldn't sleep properly. I already have a lot of anxiety as it is. So you can just imagine being in a different environment altogether that I'm not familiar with. It was just a mess. But God placed people. He placed opportunities. He placed situations there for us that to this day, I'm humbled and so grateful that my faith is so strong in God, because if it wasn't for that, I would have been crushed. If I didn't see God's hand everywhere we were going, that was my comfort. The first comfort, we sold, like I said, we sold our furniture. We also had sold our car, but we had this lady who was interested in our car, and she said, look, you know what, I live far. I live about, I would say she lives about 4 hours from where we live. And she said, look, I'm interested in the car, but I won't be able to pick it up because we were also in lockdown. Auckland was in lockdown at the time. We were in Hamilton. So, and she was, north of Auckland. So that area in Auckland being in lockdown prevented her from coming to collect the car. And I said, oh my gosh, so this is perfect because we are actually wanting to keep the car right up until the night before we leave, or if not that morning, so we could meet at the airport or whatever. But obviously that plan wasn't gonna work. But she was keen. She was keen with it because she said, keep the car, use it. I understand you got kids to take to school, you got life to go on with, and then I can get the car the day before and so on. So we arranged a whole lot of things. So that was my saving grace without even knowing it, right? And then God told this woman, I don't know what it is, but here we are. I called her saying, you know what, my flight has been canceled. Without hesitation, she goes, what are you gonna do? I mean, you've got the kids. And I was like, let me tell you something. I don't know what I'm gonna do. We're looking at Airbnbs right now. She goes, the first thing she says is, I have some people, I have family. Let me see who has a place for y'all. I'll talk to some people. Let me tell you guys, I don't know this woman. I've never met her. But once she let us use the car, a car which she actually paid a deposit on already. That day we were about to leave, right? We thought we were leaving that the next day, and her nephew was going to pick the car up the day before. So that day, when I'm telling her that our flight is canceled, she says to us, she had actually already changed the car into her name, already put insurance on it, and had already made the last payment on it, the full payment. So we had agreed on a deposit, which I think was 50% of the amount of the car. And then she paid the full 50. So this car she had paid for without even seeing it. Her nephew, granted, had come and viewed it before we even, she even decided to purchase it. But it was on faith. It was on trust. It was on God. And she, without hesitation, said, keep the car. Keep the car, use it until you can get yourself sorted. I got goosebumps when she said that, and thank you didn't feel like enough. What do you do in that situation when this woman is giving you something, a car she's fully paid off? And I had to question myself too. I said, look, would I be that generous? Would I be that caring? I remember sitting down with my husband, like, is this something we would do? We're lovely people. We're kind, we give, but to this degree? And so that was a lesson, right? And not even knowing that this was one of many, many, many blessings. And so she has now become a friend of mine. Because as you can imagine, we were there, we were communicating I was trying to call her as much as I could just to reassure and so on. But yeah, so I've made a good friend through that. My friend Margaret, is the one that purchased our car. And she was a saving grace. She was a godsend. And we're truly grateful. We're truly, truly grateful for her. And that was one of God's hands. When God reaches in and says, I got you. Lean on my faith. Have faith in me. I got you. Lean not on your own understanding. Right? Amen. Anyway, so then we are in this Airbnb and I'm stressing out. This Airbnb didn't even have Wi-Fi, let me tell you. Didn't have Wi-Fi. Didn't have okay, fine. no smart TV or anything, but we got kids to entertain. It's locked down. They're not going to school. It's a 2-bedroom place. So my kids actually, my daughter and my son, Nixon and Noella, love sharing the room. Like, I think I'll insert a tour. They loved sharing the room because Noella, it was a trundle single bed or a king single. So she was on top and he was at the bottom. And they were just having a blast. For them, it was an adventure. And that's what put my heart at ease. So that was another godsend, is that, you know, when life flows and takes you and changes the trajectory of things, you think you're on a roll and then you go, you know, you deviate a little. Well, that was a deviation. And my concern was my kids. How are my kids going to adapt to this? And you know what? That's what softened the blow, is that they adapted so well. They thought it was an adventure. They thought it was fun. And they thought, no, I remember Noella being like, oh, this Airbnb is cute. She thought we were going to a hotel. She was like, I want to go to a hotel. I said, girl, you don't want to go to a hotel, okay? They're going to put us all in one room. You don't want to go to a hotel. So anyway, we get to this Airbnb. The first day, it was fantastic because for us, it was just like, whew, we got a place to go to. Second day, third day, fourth day. Oh my goodness, the fifth day, we were getting on each other's nerves because we were used to space. We had the luxury to have space. And this time, we didn't have that. We were stepping on each other's toes. No internet. My kids are used to watching Netflix, YouTube. They're used to being on their phones or whatever. No, none of that. I remember Noella and Nixon were like, Mom, why does the TV have so many ads? It's supposed to just be 1 or 2 ads. Because they're not used to watching TV. We've never actually been TV people. I don't know. What has your experience been so far? Of being here. Come on, talk to. Let the people know, girl.
Wait, far away.
Being here. Staying here at this Airbnb.
Bored
Why?
because there's no Wi-Fi. I normally watch YouTube and Netflix.
This is first world.
And we have to watch TV.
She's like she's bored and she has a TV. The reason why she says she's bored is because there's no Wi-Fi, no Netflix, and no YouTube. When I was your age, we had a black and white brick massive TV that didn't have any sound, and we didn't even watch TV. We went outside and played. First world problems.
But we can't do that anymore because
But yeah, so that's like adjustments, right? And then we realized that Delta was not gonna go away. The restrictions were not gonna ease off within a week or two, and we needed to start planning long term. You know, short term, long term, but something like 2 months. And it's not ideal because, as you know, Airbnbs are expensive. It's not ideal. But that's the situation we were thrown into. And so there we were, and about the 5th day, I think it was, we started looking up. I think initially we were going to extend our stay there because it was cheaper, that space. But then we were like, nah, we need a bigger space because my kids, I mean, it was uncomfortable, you know, with the twins, and the twins had just started, you know, crawling around, and I think they were walking at this stage. But anyway, crawling all over the place, and we had to secure the area to make sure they don't go into the kitchen because the kitchen was literally right there, and then they'd go touching, and it was a hot mess. But we had a look on Airbnb again, and we found a slightly larger, spacious place. I think this was a 3-bedroom. Lovely, lovely place. It was more like a home and something that we're more familiar with, you know, a whole kitchen on its own. Just because my fear is the twins getting to the fridge, opening the fridge, or being in the kitchen and having a quick access. For me, it's just a safety thing, you know? And so anyway, we moved to this place and it was fantastic. But we had to be booking it week by week because we didn't know when flights would be available and when we would be leaving the Airbnbs. Not realizing that, so by the time I was like, oh, we were 3 days into the new place, I said to myself, oh my goodness, so we need to actually extend our stay here and ask the person or the lady or, you know, whoever was, you know, managing the Airbnb if we could have it reserved for a month, but, you know, we'll have it in weekly bits. And by the time I got to calling her, and she was actually keen for it. She said, "Look, I can do that for you. I can keep it for you, but there are already people who've booked it in for this weekend." And so it was that hassle of us having to get out and then move back in. So we moved from that Airbnb, and we had to find a smaller place. This was also a 3-bedroom, but it was guys, I've only been to about 3 Airbnbs in my life, okay? And when we moved to this third one, oh my goodness. This place was cluttered. I don't know how much linen do you need for one place? Like how much? There was linen in the closets, linen in the drawers, linen under the beds and boxes, there were drawers, and then furniture. How much furniture do you need in the place? It was just cluttered. And I remember us walking in, and I thought, how am I gonna be able to manage the kids here? That was the whole point of like needing, a spacious place, was so that they could move and be comfortable. And it was a mess.
Someone is happy to be home.
No, I'm not. This does not feel like a home.
Oh, no.
So it's cluttered.
Come on, Mommy, guys.
Cluttered everywhere. We just had to move this. Just. Take this off because my kids will be in their beds trying to grab the artwork. I'm gonna put a cut here and a cut here and make it work. This place is full of. We're so grateful for the place we had before that we're going back to on Sunday. We gotta pay it now, just to secure it. I have no words right now. Okay, stop, get the camera on my face. It was a mess, but we were only there for 3 days, so we would have managed. And what was really cool, about this is, when we were moving around, obviously, like when you leave one Airbnb, you have a checkout time, and then there's a time in between, and then the check-in time is usually in the afternoons, checkout usually in the mornings. So we had a dilemma where we had stuff with us. Okay, we still had, so when we realized that our flight was not leaving, we kept the blankets and kept whatever we still had that would create some level of normalcy, right? So of normality. So we had so much stuff. And guys, let me tell you, when we left that Airbnb to go to the next place, our car was chock full, like packed with blankets, with pots, with rice, with everything you can think about. I think it was like frozen meat as well, because we did a bit of a shopping. We had frozen meat in baskets, and it was a mess. And like literally, that car was a lifesaver. That car was a lifesaver, and it was so sad. Like my kids were squished in the car, and to think that was just part of our stuff, because our friends, we had to call up some of our friends and say, hey, like a couple that's really close to us, Tracy and Bruce, and we called Tracy and Bruce, and I was like, Tracy, can I leave like half my suitcases at your house when we check out, just before we check out? And then as soon as we check in, hubby will like come collect them in the afternoon. And she was so gracious about it. She was like, yeah, sure, I'd be keen to help. Come, bring them over. I'll be home, it's fine. And so that was also a godsend, because where were we going to take the stuff? Guys, from 10 till 2. What are you going to do in between there? Where are you going to take the stuff? I didn't know where we were going to take ourselves, let alone. I mean, yeah, we could have gone to the park or whatever, but when you've got kids, and I think it was raining that day, it was just, let me tell you, that whole experience was just all over the place. Like literally packing up, moving, picking up, moving, packing up, moving, packing the car was full of stuff. And each time we packed the car, I kept saying, man, we got to get rid of the stuff. We have a lot. And so we moved to this place that was cluttered. But again, you know what? We were grateful for it, because the reality is not a lot of people have the opportunity to even have a roof over their head. So for me, it was a blessing. And what was really ironic is where we moved to was literally around the corner from the first apartment that my husband and I rented together when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 9. So you can imagine, this is like going way, 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 way back, okay? And so this is God's hand again. God was in action. I don't know why. I still to this day don't know why we had to go all the way back to that particular street. Literally like a street away from where we used to live. And so the day we were moving in there, my husband gets an email. And the email is from the people we used to rent from when we lived there about 10 years ago. And the email says, hey, we are just getting in contact with you because when you used to live at this address, you were overpaying your rent, and we would like to refund you or reimburse you the difference. And it was like $1,200 something or $1,000 something dollars. And I immediately, when he read it out to me, I was like, it's a scam. It's a scam. Nah, don't do that. And he's like, if it's a scam, why do they put their why are they asking for my bank details? And he's like, look, I'm not going to lose anything from it, so I'm just going to give them my bank details. I'm like, oh, don't expect anything from it. So anyway, he gets a reply saying, we'll make the payment next week, Thursday. And so the Thursday comes around and the payment is in. And let me tell you about that $1,000 something dollars, okay? I don't know the exact amount, but that is money we needed. That is money we needed because at this time, there's a lot of uncertainty. One, the flights that we had initially booked was through an agent, so it wasn't directly with Air New Zealand. So that original flight service would have, we needed a refund from it, but they couldn't process a refund. They could only give us credit. So we needed to hold on to as much money as we could so that when they released flights, we could book them immediately. And then on top of that, moving around, Airbnb ain't cheap, y'all. Like you're looking at, let me tell you something, you're looking at $180, starting at $150 a night, okay? $150 a night. And we were there and gonna be living there for months. So you can just imagine, we were holding on to every little penny. Plus, we were still making payments over here for the rental we had secured here. Okay, fine, granted we had originally paid, as you do, you pay upfront for the first month, but we didn't know how long we were gonna be, stuck in New Zealand for. So we had to maintain this place as well and keep it secure so that we have somewhere to come to. So you can imagine paying 2 lots of rent and 800 plus of rent at the Airbnb a week. So that $1,000 was like, oh. And my husband had quit his job, obviously, because we were moving. So, and then we were in lockdown, so people weren't going to work and nobody was going to be hiring. So we were like, what do we do? And so, yeah, we just took it one day at a time. I was seriously like in panic mode. You guys, I have like the baddest anxiety, but this was like beyond. I was literally shaking. I couldn't eat properly. It was just a mess. Anyway, so we moved to the cluttered place and it was great. We were only there for a few days and then we moved back. And this lady was amazing. God's hand again. God's hand. This lady said, I will block the Airbnb's availability online. I will block it right up until December for you. And we were like, what? And she said, yep, I can do that. Just let me know if you know when you're leaving. Just let me know immediately and give me a date and I'll unblock it and whatever and I'll release it. And she was just amazing about it all. So that was another way that God shows up and shows up. So when you are thinking you're making plans and when you think your plans aren't working, you're trying to catch them and it feels like they're just falling through and nothing seems to be gaining traction, do not panic. Lean back on God. God, have a faith. He said it takes a faith of a mustard seed. Have you all seen a mustard seed? A mustard seed is the smallest thing. And if you have that much faith in God and put your heart at ease, surrender yourself to the process and he will show up. And guys, like he carried us in his hands. And every time I would really panic and think, man, it can't get worse than this, it would get better. So about 3 times, Air New Zealand was like, okay, there'll be red flights. Red flights meaning you can only come into Australia if you have a space in a hotel. So they were going to release red flights where whoever was going to make it onto the red flights would come to Australia, go straight to the hotel, quarantine for 2 weeks, then go home, right? Yeah, so that was the whole thing. The only thing is quarantining for 2 weeks, that would be, on top of that, you have to pay for it yourself, which is fine. But those red flights already were limited. There were limited spots. So the first time they released them, you guys, I'm not even going to joke about this, they were gone within 3 minutes. And I've got, well, I want to say 5 minutes actually. There's about 6 of us. So by the time I'm putting the names in, nothing. Gone, all sold out. And honestly, it felt like when you had, the hope, when you feel like, oh, I'm finally getting there, and then bang, nothing. And I was crushed. But then this time we were planning it, we were like, okay, the next time they release red flights, we gotta be ready. You book over there for yourself only, because at that point it was like, just as long as my husband gets here, because he had work already waiting for him here. So we said, okay, you grab a phone and you book. I'll book for all of us, and he already has the app on there, so his details are already on. All he just needs to do is rat-tat-tat-tat-tat, done. So we get to it, and there we are. We're ready. And this is about like a week or 2 later. They release more red flights. There we are. Nothing. And you guys, when I tell you, we felt defeated. I even cried. I remember friends of ours, I went to go see a friend of ours, and she said, or her husband said, oh, some people have robots, or they pay people overseas to, work the algorithm, and they will just get in there and purchase the tickets before everyone. I don't know what was happening. If that was happening, the reality was those tickets, the second time it came around, the tickets were gone in 3 minutes, like no joke. And I was kind of at this point, I think, because God had shown up so many times, and I felt like as uncomfortable and as rattled my life felt, I felt like I was still going on the right path, because there was something in me that just knew that God's got us. Because it's not a coincidence that Margaret just so happened to have a heart of gold, and Margaret is a Christian too. So hey, we were like exchanging scriptures. She was so comforting. She wasn't just a lady who came and bought our car and was generous with it. She was a consoling friend who would be like, you know what, it's okay, it wasn't meant to be. Keep it going, keep your head up. And then, we had God's hand. It wasn't a coincidence that we got that refund 10 years later. It wasn't a coincidence, like so many things. It wasn't a coincidence that the Airbnb lady was like, yo, just have it. It's all good. Don't worry about it. And everything was just falling into place. Right. So when we missed out on those last lot, my husband was crushed. You guys, I was so worried. I have never seen him panic that much. The last time I actually saw him crying was when I gave birth to my daughter. Now, that day, when someone's past the point of tears, like literally shaking, voice shaking, like we laugh about it now because I'm always like, babe, remember that time when you really lost it? When you were literally like, they're gone. How could they go so quickly? But they were gone, and we laugh about it, but in that moment that you feel like this is the lowest point of your life. You feel like nothing's gonna work out. This is it, this is the end. I'm losing everything that I've worked hard for. And then on top of that, you think, oh my God, now what? Now what? Are we looking at staying here for another 3 months? And that would have just been like a disaster. But anyway, God showed up, because literally like 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, there was announcements in the news that they were gonna let New Zealanders, once they got to the 80% of their population, the states, each state, once they got to 80% of their population vaccinated, they would allow people who are vaccinated to come in quarantine free. Now, quarantine free is the icing on the cake, because that meant we wouldn't have to go into a hotel and pay another $5,000 at a hotel. That would mean we just come straight home. which for us was like, at this point I was desperate, okay? I was just like, I just need to get to Australia and kiss the damn ground, because I am sick and tired of being sick and tired in this damn Airbnb, okay? I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's what it was. I had it, but I had hope. I had faith in God that no matter what, we were gonna be okay. And then when that clicked after that, after my husband realized that, and he said, you know what, I'm going to surrender. He was just like, I'm just going to go with the flow now, because I'm done trying to be in control, trying to book tickets that are gone within 3 minutes. Like, we're done. We don't know what this is about, but God, it's up to you, because it was beyond our control. And we just had no other choice but to keep our head up. And we did, because we have kids that rely on us too. Kids that can sense. You may think you're presenting the best picture in front of your kids, like you have an argument with your husband and you think, no, you have an argument in the room and then you're gonna come out and pretend like all is good. But no, kids can read the energy. And at this time, already, like, yes, my kids were dealing really well with the whole situation, but at this point they had been away from school, for a really long time, and school had actually gotten back. Some kids had gone back to school or doing the online learning thing, but they didn't have access to that. So they were also now getting sick and tired of it all, right? And so we had to come back, and I think my husband and I just sort of knew that we're just gonna have to go with the flow. There's nothing much we can do right now. Just go with the flow. God's got us and we're gonna be okay, all right? In the words of Kendrick Lamar. But it literally, at this point, it was just us doing day to day together. And this is when the beauty of it comes on. And this was God's hand. Like, we relied on each other. When one was having a really depressed day, the other would be there showing up. And if I was having a really depressed day, being all up in my feelings, my husband would be there to cheer me up. And then we'd spend a lot of quality time. I mean, we were forced to spend a lot of quality time together. But it was actually refreshing to be in each other's company 24/7 in that way, because we got closer as a family. We got to spend more and create more beautiful memories with our kids. We got to play games as a family, and as couples as well. As a couple, we grew a little bit from that, because we were so used to living our own way and having that routine of day to day, but now being together in one place during lockdown, so we can't even go out and do things in one house. And we just loved having each other around. And it brought us so close, because I walked out of it like, okay, I love my husband, but I actually like being around him all the time. And it was just awesome. We got to cook together. We got to do so much as a family, play games, cards. I mean, things we used to do, but we did it more often, and you actually find genuine enjoyment out of it. And that was so fulfilling. And we had 3 weeks of that. Then I think Australia got to 80%, or the state that we've moved into got to 80% vaccination, and that was fantastic, because then they decided, you know what, they were going to release flights. And let me tell you this is the kicker. The first original red flights were going to leave, I want to say, I think they were the second ones that we missed out on were definitely in October. It was end of September, October. So we were like, oh my goodness, we've missed out. So they were going to start October through November and December. And at this point, we had booked flights for December. We were just like, at least we booked something, whatever's available on the site. And just December was available at the time. So we had booked our flights for December. And when they dropped the quarantine-free flights for people who are vaccinated to come in, the first flight going out, guys, was the 2nd of November, which was a lot earlier than the original flight. So obviously there were some people who left in October. November was the next lot that was released the second time we missed out on the red flights. So this was amazing. The fact that the very thing we were so desperate to get, we would have booked mid-November. We would have been in Australia. But the timing of it all, guys, it was just amazing. And again, God is good. Because now we booked, as soon as we saw it, I think I was refreshing, and after they made the announcement, I refreshed again and I was like, yeah, they're live. Let's book now. And we booked immediately for the 2nd of November, and we were elated. It didn't feel real. It felt unreal. You know when you want something so badly, and when it's right there, it's like, is this real? Is this happening? So yeah, and so we booked the ticket, and it was excitement, and we got ready to start making our way out, started giving stuff away and getting rid of blankets and all that kind of stuff. And then we made it. We came home. I've never been so happy to just be in your own space and know that it's stable, But then also, I think the whole journey just taught me to appreciate my family, to appreciate God, and knowing that everything is going to be okay. As hard as it feels, as trying as it may be, and sometimes it's hurt, because sometimes we go through a lot of pain in our low moments, things that you least expect. You go through situations that you're like, man, how did I end up here? Like, why is this happening to me, right? we're all the center of everyone else's universe, isn't it? Like, we all think life or the world revolves around us, but really, you're the main character in your life. So hey, and that's what it was. And not realizing that God is gonna use something that sometimes causes pain, sometimes causes discomfort, to propel you into the next stage of your life. So embrace it. In the midst of the storm, get in within yourself and say, now what are the lessons here? Be present. Be present. Don't beat yourself up, because it's all here. You are what you tell yourself. Then whatever you tell yourself, or the stories you narrate to yourself in your head, define you in the little things, in the mood, in the energy you carry around, your whole vibes, girl. You don't want to throw that off. And so being grateful, I think, is what helped me. When we got the Airbnb, as unfortunate as it was that we didn't get our flight, and we were uncertain where we were going to live, the fact that we booked the Airbnb, and I was just in that pain or discomfort, I was just like, you know what? Thank God. I was grateful. Be grateful in the things that you do have. Focus on that. And when you're going through trying times, and my goodness, I'm sure majority of us can say with this whole pandemic that it's been trying. It's been trifling too, We've been through a lot. And we've all been put in uncomfortable positions. But lean on God. Have faith. And surrender the process. Some things are out of our control. Like this whole pandemic is out of our control. The waves that keep coming through, just when you think life is about to get better, another wave hits. I was talking to another girlfriend of mine, and she was like, man, it is hard to work from home. Okay, it is hard working from home. I got the kids, and the kids need me, and this, like, she was like, I get less work done at home than I would at work. And it's frustrating because you still have your things to hit. So whatever it is that you're going through, sit in God and lean on God. Because the outcome on the other side, oh my goodness, it's amazing. We feel so blessed that we, got this place. Oh, and the other thing that I forgot to mention, let me tell you, when we got a place here in Australia, this was the first house, the house that we're in now. This was the first house that I applied for. I literally saw it and I was like, this is so pretty. I had about 24 houses that I had just kept on my watch list on realestate.com.au. But then this one, I was like, yo, and I showed my husband. He was like, why don't you ask? And I was like, you don't think it's too soon? And he was like, no, just ask. So I gave him a call. After a few days, guys, like legit, no lies, I get a phone call and they were like, yo, you got the house. I started crying because I was like, what are the chances that we're overseas? They don't have confirmation of my husband's employment situation. They didn't ask for too much, if anything at all. It was just like a general application where you put your references, you put your previous. It was just so easy. And I thought, man, this is strange. But it was God. Nothing is too big. Nothing is too big. So to God be the glory, and know in yourself that go with the flow. If you feel like you're gonna panic, if you feel like things aren't going the right way, you gotta pray about it and be about it. Don't just pray and then come around and be negative and do a whole sob story situation. No, pray about it and be about it, and have your faith in God, because that's all you have. That is all you have. Other things are out of your control. And so yeah, I mean, I know the way I've probably laid it out, it doesn't seem like it was like, a sad story, but you know what, if you have kids, I got 4 of them, and 2 I got twins that are, my twins turned 1 while we were at the Airbnb. And we made the most out of it. We tried to create a home in an unfamiliar space. We tried to find joy in the little things and comfort in each other, and that's what got us through it. And thank God, like, God has just been amazing, guys. And you know what, this whole situation, it showed me that you can always rise above. So shine bright, live your life with purpose, don't stress about the small stuff, pray about it and be about it. And I am so happy. And so that's why I haven't been posting, because as you can imagine, number one, I didn't even know where the equipment was. They were just packed in suitcases. Oh, and then when we got to the airport, I forgot the airport story. Oh my goodness. We got to the airport with our luggage and a whole lot of stuff that we were planning to wrap together, okay? Especially my husband's equipment. We were gonna use those big wrapper things to turn into one situation. We get there, it's during lockdown, so nothing's open. Nothing's open. You just go check in and you go. So we're there with our stuff, and it was a mess. This one was like 34 kilos. You gotta change it. You move things over there, and it's like, okay, now how are we gonna wrap 4 pieces together to make one luggage? And then, oh my goodness, this is overweight. Oh my goodness, it was a mess. And we had one lady who was like, we literally were there. We got to the airport at 6, and our flight was at 8:50. So we ran to our gate, like running. I remember my son was like, "Mommy, can you hold me?" I said, "Boy," because I had one of the twins here and my husband had the other twin. My daughter was there, and I said, "Boy, you better fend for yourself. You better use those young legs. Lift the knees, kiddo." and we just ran. But the lady was like, "We're gonna make this work." She was meticulous. She was working with us. We were under pressure. My son was like, "Mom, we're gonna miss the flight." I said, "No, we gotta just focus." And we were moving our stuff. It was a mess, but we got there because she was quick, man. Actually, she took over from the lady who was in charge of us to begin with, and she was like, "Let's do it. Are you gonna pay for this?" And I was like, "Yeah, we'll pay a little extra. We'll pay a little extra." And we did, and we got there. And then we get to the airport in Australia, and there was a whole situation. We were in there for an hour because I had Weet-Bix in my bag that I hadn't declared. And then the guy comes and asks me, "Do you guys have any food?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I have Weet-Bix." And my husband was like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't even tick that you had Weet-Bix." So we had to go through, it was just a mess. And when we left the airport again, so the airport people aren't allowed to leave the airport with you. They can help you with your bags right up until to the door. But these 2 guys were just angels. They were like, "We're not supposed to do this, but we're going to take you to the other side," because that's where we had hired 2 cars to come pick us up and whatever and take us home. And they were there, and those guys also were waiting for over an hour. Can you imagine? Over an hour. And he's not paid by the hour. He's, being paid to pick us up and take us home. And he kept texting me, "Are you guys almost going to come?" I was like, "Yes, we just held up with a few things." But anyway, people were just the kindest. People were just so lovely. It was a breeze. And we got home. We made it home. And so yeah, that's why I've been MIA, guys. That's what's been happening. We've been moving. We've been trying to get our house together. So yeah, that's what's been happening in your girl Foxy's world, okay? Thanks for hanging in there. You guys have been showing me so much love. I appreciate you. thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, and leave comments below if you have any questions. I will answer them. And thanks again for tuning in today. And I'll be bringing more videos, okay? I promise I won't go MIA again. All right, lovelies. Don't forget, if you're new here, don't forget to check out my other videos. Like and subscribe. I do videos about lifestyle. I do tips on mommyhood. I just do a bit of everything, okay? Come to my crazy adventure in Foxy's world. And thanks again for tuning in. I will check you guys on my next video. Ciao. Mwah, 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 mwah.